Hello folks, I make you welcome to yet another great episode of what we do best here. It's often said that international politics is not really about democracy or human rights. Sadly, it is about the interest of individual states. But of course, it is our responsibility to talk about one or two from that and of course try to make sense from every one of them. My name is Henry Igwebike and welcome to Politics Around the World right here on Enterprise Television. But let's start off the show like this from the United States of America. But just before the United States of America, let's maybe take a look at what's happening in Canada right about now. And we have it that Mark Carney has been elected as the new head of the governing Liberal Party, replacing Justin Trudeau in the midst of historic tensions and fear of a trade war with their big brother, the United States of America. Now the question is, how different will he be from Trudeau? That is an open question. Because remember, one of the burning issues happening right now in Canada is affordability, which remains a top concern for Canadian voters alongside healthcare and housing. I have with me Innocent Aduluba right here to take us on this particular matter. Innocent, how are you today? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for being here.
My pleasure.
So yes, so we have Innocent Aduluba. He is someone who truly does understand international politics, and I bet you today would be a very great day with him. Innocent, I want to what do you think really about Mark Carney taking over from Justin Trudeau?
I think it's a like for like. Carney and Donald Trump. Mark Carney has never occupied an elected office before. Same with Donald Trump. He came from a business background. So, and he was the former governor of the Central Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. And he has made a famous statement already. There was that a 25% tariff or tax slapped on Canada, by extension Mexico. Lots of Canada largely depend, the economy of Canada largely depend on the United States for trade, but in the urban days of Justin Trudeau, he had made some retaliatory tariffs. But I think Mark is coming in talking tough. His party was...
Talking tough on whose side now? Is it protecting Canadians?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, in quote, hierarchy of parties, the Liberal Party, where Justin Trudeau just stepped down from, was the dominant party. Then there is the Bloc Québécois, Yves, and that was above in reckoning. But Kenny's party, the Conservative, had leapfrogged them lately. New Democratic Party are there, as well as the Green Party. Mark Carney is saying that in trade, as in hockey, Canada will win. Canada will win.
Knowing the trade deficit between United States and Canada, I truly do understand that a lot of, a large chunk of energy in the United States, especially in New York and other states around there, are being supplied from Canada. And remember, one of the governors there said he is ready to cut off energy to United States of America. But United States seems to not care, really. And how do you now think that the Canada might win at the end of the day here?
Well, Canada is, by land, the second largest country in the world.
Is that
Canada has vast land.
Okay.
And then Canada borders U.S. across all frontiers. If you take all the northern states from Halifax through to the borders of California, Vancouver on the Pacific coast. Canada also shares a lot of congruence with the United States. They border each other on the Great Lakes, around Michigan, Illinois, across, you are talking Alberta, Saskatchewan, Quebec,
yeah.
and coming down to Ontario. So some of the trade is almost England, France. The tunnel connecting them is seamless. And so for Mark Carney, who like I said, had never occupied an elected office before. He's a shrewd man grounded in the economics.
That could be better than Donald Trump.
No, for Canada.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
He doesn't. I think the way we have ISM, there is a current global government system I will refer to as Trumpism.
Okay.
So McKinney is just being bettered. He's a political baby where Donald Trump is. Trudeau would have already crossed the juvenile years of his politics. So I would not say immediately that McKinney is better than Donald Trump, but he is a Canadian who knows the meaning of a state. A state is a politically organized body of people occupying a territory, having boundaries, and run by a government. So he does not believe Canada will be the 51st state to the United States. So with that background, he is a man charged on a mission. He will deal with the fiscals. If you look at his background from the economic, financial side, fiscal policies will help him. He will take care of possibly economies of scale, economies of scope. Canada is among the world's largest countries with their door open for immigrants. And so some of these policies could help them balance deficits in labor, needed hands in the economy.
Which the United States is, of course,
at this stage, the U.S. is full. They are looking to shed their weight. Not so for Canada. And you see, when hot air rises, cool air comes in to take its place. So Canada is open. Canada is, in quote, today's new world. And where Trudeau, possibly because Trudeau has been the Prime Minister since 2015, but has been the leader of the Liberal Party since 2013, where he may be on his diminishing side, not because he is bad. He has been in power coming into the 10th year. So we may definitely have seen his better years.
Yes.
So I said when hot air rises, McKinney is hot as we speak. He is on the rise. And coming in at this time is not a trade war with the U.S. per se, but he is coming with a mandate. He's coming with a mandate, and that is where
what exactly?
That is where. Well, I think his mandate is to balance things out, to even things out, to speak, and emphasize the political sovereignty of Canada as a state, and pull all the strings that makes a state work. As I would tell you, a viable economy is the security of any democracy. Kenya is charged to sustain such an economy.
Well, let's see how that works, though. He is very new with politics. This I want to be is his first go on the political scale of things. How naive would McKinney be? What is his experience level at this point? That is one question that begs for lots of answers. But let's see how that goes. In a couple of days, he will be, sworn in as the Prime Minister of Canada. What would equally be the relations between Canada and UK? Of course, that is one other thing that we need to see. It's a developing story, and right here on Politics Around the World, we promise to bring that. But talking about Canada, we can say Canada without talking about the big brother, the United States. President Donald Trump has declined to rule out the possibility that the world's largest economy is headed for, wait, a recession, amid market concerns over his America First economic agenda. In an interview with Fox News that aired on Sunday, Trump demurred when asked if he expected a recession this year. He said, "I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we are doing is very big. We are bringing wealth back to America. It takes a little time, but I think it should be a great one for us." In the voice of Donald Trump, right there. Innocent Aduluba. This is very, very quite interesting that Donald Trump, who is having his second go right about now, and coming into that sphere, Americans and world citizens are beginning to feel a little bit jittery about Donald Trump. Still someone who should come into a country that's already, doing well, but right now America is about to get into recession. Speak to me.
Well, truth be told, things are not the way they used to be. Donald Trump has carried out changes to tariff threats against some of their trade allies. And if you do something differently, you will expect a different outcome. Mexico used to be a nursery to America's economy. I think Ford, one of their largest manufacturing bases, is across the border south there. Yeah. If you carry out trade tariffs and Mexico carry out retaliatory tariffs, then things would not be the way they are. Yes. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has insisted that there will be no contraction in the world's largest economy, while acknowledging that the price of some goods may rise. But for Donald Trump, he has refused to use the word the U.S. is facing a recession. Yeah. He says the American economy is in transition.
Wow. That's a fantastic way of using that word, transition. But I'd love to do a little bit of quote here. And this is from one of United States former leader. When great nations fear to expand, shrink from expansion, it is because their greatness is coming to an end. It's obvious that the United States under Donald Trump is scared of expansion. It's not even trying any way to do the expansion thing. With the withdrawal of U.S. aid, it's not expanding. So don't you think the United States dynasty, it's just about to come to an end?
You know, it has been a volatile week for United States financial markets. Investors are grappling with uncertainty from Donald Trump's administration's U-turn on some key parts of its aggressive trade policies. Mind you, Xi Jinping of China is lurking, waiting for Trump's moves to also carry out a kickback. The world's largest economies are not they are not friends. They are just trade allies, and it tells you that it is interest that is permanent. Where the interests are not, you know, they tell you in politics there are no permanent friends, only permanent interests.
But is Donald Trump concerned about the interest here? Because for him, it's more like, you know, wielding the Superman power, the Captain America power, that sledgehammer. That is what he is more concerned about than the interest of Americans. Don't you think so?
But the diversification, the versatility, the world is drifting towards sustainability and innovation. And if you look at the treatment from before Donald Trump, the U.S. of TikTok, which has roots in China, and also how the French are also responding. The world is in a situation where no single country can claim either monopoly or oligopoly. Yes, there are nearly alternatives to everything. I wouldn't know about warheads if we look at who supplies the most armament. But with regards to the basics, textiles, if IT, shippings, manufacturing, the basics, the world is wide now. There are some countries that can tell you they are as good as self-sufficient. So that's why I use the word either monopoly or oligopoly may not suit the U.S. In the end, if there are certain things they supply, they trade in, they produce that carry a bumper tariff, certain countries will decide to look inward. And adaptation can now render what the U.S. has to offer blunt or superfluous, no longer needed. I think Trump should hold his allies close and then discuss with gloves. Because in boxing, when the gloves are off, the punches are painful. Definitely. They should discuss glove in hand and see how it shouldn't just be that Donald Trump is coming with a big hammer on the trade scene.
Yeah, because it is looking more. The EU actually met a couple of days back, and they said they have awoken from their slumber. That at the end of the Second World War, when the United States was the big guy, right, that decided whatever it is. The EU rallied around the United States. So everything the United States did, or their intention, was what the EU were into. At that point, the EU, every country in the EU started, they weren't interested in innovation. Every single part, the Boeings, the scientific discovery and all of that, they were all getting it from the United States. At some point, they weren't independent yet again. Now, with Donald Trump, don't you think that this is the era of the EU bouncing back like we know the EU before the First World War?
You see, the Europe were supported or partly rescued by the United States of America in the Allied forces leading to the end of the Second World War, which the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR, ended that war via an armistice with Germany. And the U.S. Secretary of State at the time, George Marshall, came with a Marshall Plan, which helped to rebuild largely damaged parts of Europe. If you take the bombardments into consideration, it was a time where technology of warfare was openly put to test. London was able to survive partly, not too far from Germany. If you look at the northern shores of, from the northern tip of France, Calais, into Belgium, Holland, and Germany is just on the creeks there with the Scandinavian to the east of them. London was able to, because they could watch flights flying across the English channels from mainland Europe. So George Marshall in the Marshall Plan has helped in rebuilding Europe, where Europe has almost eternally felt indebted to the United States of America. But just like China, Europe can come out with tit-for-tat tariffs. And that's where globalization may be taking a back foot, because globalization means a collapse of national frontiers for open trade. If this kind of thing comes in, then is globalization the orphan in this big elephant? And mind you, Europe are united in their euro, and so the economies are laced or woven together. Where the United States is one country, all the countries in Europe come together and believe, I think specialization, division of labor can even come more. There are, of course, no country is hungry, but possibly French, Portuguese, Spanish farms can carry out the feeding. Lots of farming in England as well. And then maybe Luxembourg, Germany, and whoever are in that area carry out the manufacturing. And we know of Estonia leading the IT evolution. And across life in the Scandinavia, where there are lots of resources, deposits in Denmark, Norway, the Swedish stretch, as it were. So I think Europe, rightly put, are a waking world with regards to subservience to the economies of the United States of America. And mind you, there were 2 trips of European presidents to the White House lately. That French technocrat, what do we call Macron? Emmanuel Macron was very tactical. He could play the political and economic wrestling match well with Donald Trump, and we could say he came out unscathed compared to the trip of Volodymyr Zelensky.
Okay, yes, Zelensky was there. Was there a couple of days
negotiations for, I think there's the minerals deal. The U.S. are hoping to negotiate with them, but trust the United Kingdom. They are kings of diplomacy. I don't think they've been there
for centuries. And,
so
they understand
Trump should have the walls open and not building high fences.
Very, very true. It should have the world open, because the truth remains that the United States is slowly but surely slipping off the slope, and one would wonder if Donald Trump truly does understand the assignment that he has been given, because the reason the United States is one mention away from the lips of everyone is because they give you that aid, and giving you that aid means a reciprocity of your loyalty. But when such aid is cut off, it means that Nigeria can say, hey, who is the United States? We can't do it ourselves. And that is the beginning of the United States becoming an island, which of course wasn't the central theme. Why?
Don't forget that Donald Trump had doubled a blanket tariff on goods from China to 20%.
Yes.
And Beijing has announced retaliatory taxes. That's the word I'm avoiding. Tit for tat taxes, retaliatory taxes, and the retaliatory taxes from China are on imported agricultural goods from the United States. And if you look at the population of China, that is a ready market for the United States. So I think Donald Trump should look at where the pendulum swings and weigh his chances. He should be very astute in times like this.
Very true. And this is a very tough time for our sister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, with the World Trade Organization chair. And this is a very tough time for her right now, because what can she do? Is it talking to Donald Trump that doesn't want to listen? That even never wanted her to be there in the first place? This is a big
I think it's a headache for her, but she is safe. You see, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala or the World Trade are non-state actors.
Yeah, they are non-state actors, but they are
of course in the international system.
Yeah, very instrumental.
So I think they will watch because, as it were, Xi Jinping's retaliatory tariffs, Donald Trump's imposed tariffs, neither of these can be in quote controlled by NOI. She has to watch, and possibly the WTO hold their meetings and try to see how to cushion some of these effects or buffer from this other side. But it's indeed, they have their plate full.
All right. From the United States, now let's come back home to Africa. And when we talk about Africa, of course, we're talking about one of those places in the motherland that is going through hell for a very long time. DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo. The M23 armed group has pushed deeper into the Democratic Republic of Congo minerals-rich region after capturing the key cities of Goma and Bukavu, the capital of North and South Kivu provinces, respectively, in recent weeks. Security sources have told Al Jazeera that the Rwanda-backed rebels had entered Inyabiondo village about 100 kilometers north of Goma and located on the road leading to the strategic town of Walikale in the north. Meanwhile, authorities in the DRC have offered $5 million, let me repeat that again, $5 million reward for help in arresting rebels leaders as government forces struggle to contain their advances. So very unfortunate right now for the DRC government. There have been lots of DRC officers and personnel, moving to the M23. It's actually very sad. Innocent Aduluba, speak to me. There's no gainsaying. The M23 are being sponsored, heavily sponsored by Rwanda under Paul Kagame. It's even more disheartening that Paul Kagame understands what it means to conquer a nation. He is a Tutsi. They were the one that were bullied. Genocide of Tutsis in Rwanda. How come Paul Kagame is now supporting that M23 would ravage DRC Congo?
It's international politics at play, and ordinarily, how do we put it? All things being equal, Paul Kagame should be afraid.
Afraid of what?
The Democratic Republic of Congo. All things being equal. It's a David and Goliath situation. Democratic Republic of Congo, alongside Algeria, are among the largest countries in Africa. Democratic Republic of Congo sits atop the mineral chart in Africa. There is no country richer than the Democratic Republic of Congo in mineral deposits. Wow. They have they have the largest untapped gold, diamonds, cobalt, and high-grade copper. And there is a plethora of international mining companies
doing business there.
In the DRC. It's like egrets on cattle, And sadly, as it is the case with Africa, much of the resources of the African countries are not in the control of that African government. And so maybe, I wouldn't know, is where Paul Kagame has grown as a David that is no longer afraid of an unstable Goliath, where the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, a Rwanda Hutu rebel group, is the proliferation of the M3 group. And we don't know what they want to plunder in the DRC, because with crisis, every country in crisis will be distracted from concentrating on development. I really don't know why it is Congo. Congo sits at the heart of Africa. Congo, it is where the AFTA, African Free Trade, are looking up for external help to build the largest dam in the DRC. And when that dam is externally built, he who pays the piper will dig out. When I say external, the European Union is self-sufficient. They look inward. But the African Union looks out to the outer world for financial aid.
Yeah, because some have said that the Rwanda is doing all of this because, they are landlocked. Okay, so they're actually looking for, if it's possible, if they can have the say in the government, it's possible for a route to be created so they can at least have an advantage with the sea, which of course is one thing they are yearning for. They are landlocked, but they are the fastest developing country in Africa. In fact, 15th most developed economies in the world. So do you think that seeking for waterway might be the reason Paul Kagame is doing all that he's doing?
Waterway is very important in global trade. If you look at water transport technology has defined the extent of man's invention on the global stage. In Panama, there was the Panama Canal built, and that lengthy circumvention of voyages have been reduced. In Greece, the Isthmus of Corinth, which has reduced how trade goes, especially in that Mediterranean region. Russia, Turkey are prominent also on the Caspian Sea, Anatolia for Turkey. There is the famous Suez Canal in Egypt, just on the bridge of Africa and Asia on the Sinai Peninsula. And so European goods can access Asia quite easily. I don't see any part of Africa divisible, maybe from Tanganyika into Lake Victoria, Lake Malawi, through the African Rift Valley, if that is possible. So on the Atlantic coast, large as Congo is, they have a space out there before Botswana and Namibia, along that Banguela current going down Southern Africa. And so anybody who controls, like if you look at Nigeria here, the seaports are there for free. We even lock our own and we concentrate only on Apapa.
Yeah, the one
instead of look at the options
multiple options.
A place like Igbokoda here in Ondo State can do you good ports. There is Gelegele in Benin. There is the Focados, Burutu, all in Delta states leading to Warri, Bomadi. And then you go to One, Port Harcourt, all of Bayelsa, River State, Akwa Ibom, Eket, Oron, and Calabar down to Abana into the Cameroons. We have them for free.
And here is Rwanda
and,
begging for one.
For just one. And it has resulted to armed contention. Rebel groups at conflict. So I don't know, Paul Kagame has been there for 20 years. I don't know if he has the succession plan. I don't know if these are allegations or truly.
No, he has actually admitted, totally has admitted that M23 has been of great help to him. M23 made it possible for him to have ousted the president that was there before he came in, of course, allowed for a peace, in Rwanda. So M23 has been very helpful for him. But why would he now use M23 against the people of the DRC? And just to digress for a bit, just to tell you how wealthy and rich the DRC is. Late Ifeanyi Ubah, when he was 19 years, actually migrated from Nigeria to the DRC. In just 1 year after, Ifeanyi Ubah became a billionaire. Just to tell you, how wealthy the DRC is. We all don't know what he did actually to make that happen, but of course, the minerals and the deposits there is one of those. So if Ifeanyi could be as wealthy as he is just by visiting the DRC, just imagine how wealthy that nation is. Mobutu Sese Seko, the late one, would be turning right now in his grave and asking himself, he would have done better. Don't you think so?
Anyway, the reports have it that it has become the Rwanda, the operations of M23 has become controversial, just like you are pointing out, because there are allegations that Rwanda, under Paul Kagame, are using the presence of the FDLR as a justification for continued military and political interference in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Don't forget, the FDLR is the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda. Rwanda is already liberated, So I've told you now that the world, whatever their group, are hoping to help Africa build the world's largest dam in the DRC. Would they be building that for free? They need the requisite energy for conversion of resources right there in the DRC. I'm yet to see an African country in charge of their resources. Wow. I wouldn't know to what extent South Africa, with the activism of Nelson Mandela, that Ghana has its gold. We know of the undercarpet minings in Zamfara and parts of the north,
which is not accountable.
And lately Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger have with military intervention taken charge of their resources. The world frowning at them not using the democratic route, but they knowing that with the democratic route, such
going back to
it will never. So the M23 never mentioned on after. Africa is looking, having gotten independence from their colonial masters, to stay free, liberated. But neighbors, look at South Sudan and Sudan. But like many analysts will tell you, lots of these are externally incited.
Externally influenced. Very, very true. Lots of them are actually externally influenced. I was why in my opening submission I had to say that international politics is never about democracy of human rights. It's rather about the interest of individual states. That's just about the time we have for today. Thank you so very much, Innocent Ajuluwa.
My pleasure to be here.
I just hope that next time you'll be here to help us make sense of some of these things. Very complex world we live in.
Well, the world is a chess game, and even where we stand, it is others that are playing the chess we are responding to.
And unfortunately, they aren't actually looking at the effect on the lives of average people. Lots of IDP camps scattered all over Africa. Refugee camps. Yes, IDPs are usually internal. Refugees, you need to move out of your country. Well, it's a very sad situation for us in Africa at a time when other continents in the world are trying to see how they can govern the world and go to space, conquer the space, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, for us in Africa, it's war. But we hope that this would end, and equally hope that the African Union, if they still exist, the lame dog African Union, if they still exist, will do something about this and, of course, find solutions to that. That's just about the time we have for politics around the world today. I love to believe you enjoyed our show. Please do well to be part of what we will be here next week to continue on this discussion. My name is Henry. We can see you next time, and have yourself a wonderful week. Bye-bye.